Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Fun with Doctor. I might be stepping down to one video a week, just so I have a little less stress in my life of trying not to do so many videos, and then just, get on with the work. So I haven't decided that yet. It depends on how much content I get, but it's getting tiring of doing the same thing over and over again. But today gonna take a look at a good tip for those of you considering the 12-way wedge. Like Chris Wolf says, it's a tool for the toolbox. It's not an end-all be-all type of wedge. For like that 10 to 14 inch wood, it's absolutely perfect. But when you get to the bigger stuff, we'll show you in just a minute, it has to split just right on the sides and on the top for it to be useful. Otherwise, trying to separate it out, the resplit, is an absolute pain until you push another piece through, unless you have really nice splitting wood. This maple splits some up into boiler wood and some for campfire wood or regular wood. I did some with the 12-way 4-ways, so I have a pretty good idea what it's going to do. So this big stuff, I'm going to put a couple of the big rounds through, and you'll see. Then I'll talk about it. Then I'll switch to the 4-way, and then I'll talk about the differences. So the splitter is still warmed up, so as I'm going to get the Wolfridge Pro 20C cranked up, I'll show you what I'm talking about. here's the problem with this one. So you can see this had knots and stuff, and it couldn't quite easily see it from the chunk of wood itself, but that's why you don't want to run the 12-way too much. You have to run it in nice wood. As you can see, it was coming out this end all chunked up and crappy because it's trying to force the wood to do something it does not want to do. So this 12-way wedge is not the best choice for this type of wood. And now to get it the wood cleared out, and that's a trick in itself, because then you have to take a pusher piece, come in here, bust it out, so you can so I can take this wedge off and show you how much easier the 4-way wedge is for this type of wood. it had very little issue pushing basically the same wood through the 4-way wedge, but the nature of this maple, the way it went, is mostly a boiler wood because of these knots. When you hit those, it just steers it whichever way the wood feels like going. So then, because of that, it still tries to go through sideways. So you've seen these pieces when they start coming off the bottom funny, they want to try to rotate into the wedge. So it this, even though as easy splitting as this maple is, it could be tough even with the 4-way. So single wedge might be the best way to go. Just block up this crummy splitting wood into a boiler wood, but you can get really nice stuff out of it if you take your time. With the 4-way, not so much, because you still get pieces wanting to steer themselves through the wedge sideways, but not as bad as that 12-way. That 12-way in this stuff is just a bad idea. You need pretty straight grained wood, and you need it under 16-inch. My ideal size, 10 to 14. Straight grained wood without much knots. That's the way to go for this, for the way to go. Otherwise, box wedge machine or single wedge to get anything really useful out of this stuff. So that's a choice you have to make. Because the 12-way in this stuff is just going to tear the wood up, because it's going to go through the wedge sideways so many different ways because it has so many wedges. You need straight grain stuff with no knots or branch grain to deal with. That's what was steering it wrong with the 12-way. Even with the 4-way, the little branches, the branch wood, the grain in there, it just kept steering it funny. So that's what I say, is either go with the single wedge, bust it in half, and then slip the 4-way back on. That's what I would, that's what I personally recommend for this type of wood. Even though it's easy splitting, bust it in half with the single wedge, you know, quarter it up, and go to the 4-way. You might want, I don't know, it's your call if you want to go run a straight run of just busting it into quarters with the single wedge, then come back through and another run of with the 4-way. That's up to you, but all I know is I'm not running that 12-way wedge in the rest of this maple. It's going to be the 4-way or single wedge. So yeah, thanks to people on Facebook that, in the Facebook firewood groups, that said, hey, you don't want to be doing that. And I'm like, well, I'm going to test it out on video, and I'm glad I did, so it can help other people out by demonstrating that it's a bad idea in the wrong size wood to run that 12-way through. Now, in that oak made a huge mess, but it powered it right through, because that's easier splitting than this maple. It's split cleaner. You know, it's split off the top easier and all that. But this stuff with the branches and that nature of maple, it just, it's a bad idea all around. So go with the single or 4-way wedge if you're gonna do nasty stuff on here. So till next time, folks, take care, get out there, do something, have fun doing it. Now to get back to work of splitting here.